Ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses, welcome to the first Fellowship of Fandoms podcast. It's our Fellowship of Fans podcast that is typically going to focus on non-Lord of the Rings news. We will have our regular podcast, The Council of Fans, that will focus solely on all things Lord of the Rings. But since this is the first episode, we are going to break off some Lord of the Rings news first before transitioning into other shows and movies. That being said, if you guys have specific things you would like to see us cover going forward in the future, please reach out to us and send us an email at FoFCast@fellowshipoffans.com. Again, that would be FoFCast@fellowshipoffans.com. For our first episode, I have other hosts with me here. We have V.
Hello, everyone. I hope everything is fine.
It better be damn fine for everybody. We also have Strider. Welcome.
Hello there. Super excited to be here. I cannot wait to kick this off. Good stuff incoming. Looking forward to it and happy to be here.
And lastly, with me, we have Chiv Knight. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Happy to talk some nerd stuff today.
Nerd stuff is good. It seems like everybody's in a good mood. So let's go ahead and kick it off with some positive news first in the Lord of the Rings fandom. And that is that the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power for season 3 has officially announced 2 new cast members. The first one being Jamie Campbell Bower and the second one being Eddie Marsan. I think obviously the one that will jump out to most folks will be Jamie Campbell Bower because he had recently played Vecna on Stranger Things. But Eddie Marsan himself has a lot, and I mean a lot, of credits to his name. So why don't we just go around and share general thoughts first on do you like the castings in general and who do you hope that they are playing? And let's start that off with Chiv.
Sure. I'm probably going to steal a bunch of thunder here, but really excited for the casting of Jamie. I love Stranger Things. I can't wait for that to come out, I believe, later this year. And I think he would make a good Celeborn, in my opinion. And for Eddie, my goal or my mindset that he's going to be in the Dwarven realm. And I look forward to him. He's been in some great stuff as well.
Yeah, and kind of scrolling through the article, it does mention something that we had reported for a while, and that Jamie's character will play a character described as a handsome, highborn knight with the code name Arlen. And again, shout out to us because that information came from us first. And I could definitely see Arlen being a Celeborn type character. And as we go further down, it does have the code name for Eddie Marsan's character, which is Drom. And the only thing that we know about him per the article is that he has a brother, and the role reportedly required Scottish accent, which may have hints to possibly being a dwarf. What do you think about that, Strider?
I think that is by far the likeliest, most logical option. And the moment they announced Eddie Marsan, I was like, this guy's going to be such a dwarf. It's going to be so good. And he kind of has a history of playing slightly more antagonistic characters usually. I think he leans more that way. And if I had to call it, I would say this man is going to be Durin's brother that has been named, or like name dropped, but I guess title dropped at the end of season 2 of Rings of Power. And I think he's going to do a great job. But whether or not he is Durin's brother, I think he's gonna completely knock it out of the park as dwarf. I can totally see that, and I think he also reminds me of a young Balin. Like if I imagine him as a dwarf, I kind of imagine Balin from the Hobbit movies, and I'm very excited for this. And as for Jamie Campbell Bower, and yeah, you as you said, we have announced the Arlen call some months ago. And we were the first ones to mention it. And when we were discussing it, we were talking about who this Arlen character could be. And the 2 top picks were, or let's say 3 were Anarion, though we agreed that it didn't fit necessarily that well with the description. And the 2 favorites were Celeborn and Glorfindel. While I am hoping so hard that we get to see Glorfindel at least in some way, but hopefully in a solid role, uh, in the show, uh, I guess it made more sense for this person to be, since he's going to be like the next main character in season 3, to be Caliborn. And Jamie Campbell Bower, he totally looks like a Caliborn. I like that he's not just a pretty face. He has a slight edge to him. The fact that he played Vecna in Stranger Things is also a huge boon. But he also had a huge career so far. I remember seeing him like more than 10 years ago in a show called Camelot. He played the young King Arthur,
Mm.
and I thought even though the show wasn't of like A level production, he was really good, and he has done so many good things since then. I think this is a fantastic choice for Celeborn. I guess it's not really confirmed, but it screams this is the character we need to get in season 3. And if this is so, and it should be, this is absolutely spot on casting. Bring us some star power, someone that can stand up to, as because I said he has an edge. I think he is the perfect foil for Sauron, to be like this strong but protective, kind person that can stand with Galadriel. And yeah, I'm super excited for this casting, both of them. But yeah, Celeborn, hopefully specifically.
Yeah, I think most folks are probably more excited for Jamie Campbell Bower because of the potential that he's playing either Glorfindel or Celeborn, as you guys have already mentioned. Both roles would be pretty massive. I mean, Glorfindel does some pretty incredible things, and I think that it's very possible that Jamie Campbell Bower's take on Celeborn could be very different than what a lot of people were expecting Celeborn to be in the show. That's also exciting. But I just think Eddie Marson
Mm.
playing a dwarf, potentially playing Durin's brother to come try to take his place as the rightful ruler of Khazad Dûm and cause chaos in Khazad Dûm amongst the Dwarven realm and maybe the other Dwarven realms as well. It's just obviously I'm a huge dwarf fan, so that's like the coolest casting. He better be a dwarf, especially if the role has a Scottish accent. It would be weird for the elves to start speaking that way. Um, but V, what do you think about the castings, and do you agree with everybody else here that it's probably Celeborn or Glorfindel, or are you more of an Anarion?
No, I think the panel is pretty unanimous on Jamie being Celeborn and on Eddie being the brother of Journey, hopefully. And I mean, especially with the description of James' character being a series regular, you don't have many characters left for the rest 3 of the seasons that could be series regulars and expected um, to come on board in this, and especially going with the description of a high knight, hinting on high elves and etc. Maybe they are also hinting on um, the genealogy that they want for Celeborn, because if he's Celeborn, of course, because there are a couple of different. I forgot the word, of different aspects to whether Celeborn was a Teleri or one in, one of Thingol's soldiers. So depending on that, if he's a Teleri, he of course is a high elf that saw the light, etc., of the trees probably. But if he is of the of
Of the Sindar.
Thingol's soldier of the Sindar. He's not high up, so maybe if we ever eventually get the announcement of Celeborn, we also have a hint on his genealogy in the show and the choice they've made for his background, which will be quite interesting as well. Um, Also, as Strider said, I think it was about time to have a really established male actor that has played, romantic interests in the past, and he is pretty well known in some fandoms. For example, the City of Bones comes in mind, and I think uh, apart like from Stranger Things, of course, and he has a pretty big career. So I think he will bring with him some new fans, and it's always lovely to have new people joining the fandom. So yes, I'm really looking forward to the final announcement of the character. Um, but I'm pretty sure that he's Caliborn.
Well, I think we are pretty unanimous in that. Also, one of the things that did sort of like, as people fan casted Jamie for a long time for this show, the one person that he has been following on social media has been Morfydd Clark, who plays Galadriel. So there's also that little like fun fan speculation who, anybody who's doing detective work feels like maybe that means something, that he was following her for some time. And that was the only person employed for the Rings of Power that he was following. So maybe they are supposed to have some sort of closer role, which would match Celeborn. Now, I don't mean for everything to be all, happy roses, fireworks. We're going to be a little bit of a downer here. We're transitioning from some good news to what some would deem bad news, but also maybe potentially good news here. And that is Lord of the Rings in video games and film outside of the Rings of Power. A while back, Weta Workshop announced a game coming out called Tales of the Shire, which is like a cozy game that is very much in the mold of Animal Crossing. And the first release date that they had for the game was supposed to be mid to late 2024. As we got towards mid to late 2024 without any sort of communication from Weta Workshop, they put out a statement that said roughly 6 months ago, hey, we are actually going to delay the video game to early 2025. And as we got further through 2024, they announced that it was going to be March of 2025. They announced that in September. As the months went on, from September to October to November to December, we hadn't heard anything from Weta Workshop around Tales of the Shire. And one of the higher end developers, I'm forgetting her name at the moment, but she was like the face of the company. Any of the videos that were coming out for Tales of the Shire, she was in them. She left the company in December, and on her Instagram, she had written that basically the game no longer requires her position because the game is in release state. It's ready to go live. So everybody thought that this was good news. If she's leaving and the game is in release state, we're going to get our March release date. And that was in December. In January, we hear nothing about the game. And then in February, we got some bad news. And that it was Netflix originally was going to be releasing Tales of the Shire on Android and iOS devices. And in February, they announced that they were dropping 6 games from its catalog and they were no longer going forward with them. And Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, was one of those games that got dropped. So as far as I know, it's no longer coming to Android or iOS. And the comments were, well, that's not the end of the world. At least the game is still coming. We're going to get there soon. Well, roughly 20 days ago, they put out another statement that said, a good Hobbit feast takes time, and so does Tales of the Shire. We're taking a little longer to ensure that every Hobbit on every platform can enjoy the same cozy experience, and the game will now launch July 29th of 2025. And since that update, roughly 3 weeks ago, they also haven't put anything out. And this sort of falls in line with a chunk of Lord of the Rings games not having such a good go of it. Before this, we had the Gollum game by Daedalic, and that game was out for roughly 2 months. It released to some of the worst review scores of all time, and then they killed it within like 2 months of the game being out. EA made a mobile game called Heroes of Middle-earth in the mold of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Their Star Wars game is like 12 years old at this point, and it still makes them $1 million a day. The Lord of the Rings version was so unprofitable that they killed the game within a year. And then on top of that, sort of Lord of the Rings adjacent, Warner Brothers shut down Monolith Productions, I think like 20 days ago. They're the team that worked on like the one Lord of the Rings game people liked, which was Shadows of War and Shadows of Mordor. So like you can see the trend here of things constantly getting delayed, released. The Daedalic had a second Lord of the Rings game that they were working on, and then they obviously shut that down too. So there's nothing coming from them going forward. Like, why do you guys think Lord of the Rings has not had a great run recently in the video game landscape. Like, why do you think it's having such a hard time finding audiences? Is it just studios not performing well? Is it just bad? Like, the one game that's had any legs has been Return to Moria, and it's a very niche style game. It's like a survival game that's all dwarves, so it doesn't have a massive audience to begin with, but it's like the one thing that has stayed out and like done decently well in comparison to everything else. Like, Strider, why do you think these games are struggling so much?
The obvious reason is people behind the scenes are trying to minimize losses, maximize the profit, and they're not thinking about the product itself, which is why uh, I know very little about the gaming industry, but I have some friends who have told me something, so I'm kind of piecing it all together. And I'm kind of comparing it also to what's happening with the, for example, with the comics movies. And it's like we want to spend the least amount of effort on this possible. We'll go for the most general, basic stuff to cover the widest, like to have like the widest blanket. And we will we just want to get like the least amount of effort for the most profit. And I feel like this is one of the big reasons for it, where they're not going for, they're not planning, they're not trying to maybe get that much into what it is that they're trying to do. What are the games in this case that they're trying to make about? They're just trying to they're just thinking the numbers. I feel like that's at least one of the biggest issues. But this also segues into the other one, which I think specifically for the Lord of the Rings games, I feel like it's just not being, I was going to say Hollywood, whatever is the equivalent of Hollywood for video games. I feel like they don't understand the world that much. I think especially because the Lord of the Rings in a way is, it kind of has like a different vibe to different worlds. Like if you compare it with most other settings, fantasy settings, like for example, let's compare it with Westeros, so A Song of Ice and Fire, and I'll compare it with Wheel of Time since I just finished watching season 2. These worlds are, in the way they work, they're more similar to ours. Well, Middle Earth, even though it has you have kingdoms like Gondor, Rohan, there's like a structure, there's like fiefdoms, there's commanders, there's regions, there's stuff to it. Also, it's in a very in a similar way. It's also very mythical. Like there's more of this mythical layer to it. So it's kind of, I guess it's kind of hard to find the balance of like how do I make a self-contained story in Middle Earth that is fun and engaging on this like what's the ground level, such as like if you made a game in Westeros, for example, but also like to keep the soul of it, which is why I think the most successful games so far have been the games that basically covered the tales that Tolkien did, like Battle for Middle Earth games. They covered things that Tolkien did. I mean, the sequel, not directly, but it did cover basically the events that were happening in other places that we don't see in the books, but they were still we still kind of knew what was happening there. Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, they go in a very fan fiction kind of way with the story. Like the story starts in a relatively canon event, but then completely what goes off board, but it still maintains this mythical struggle, and it just kind of rehashes some of the conflicts that already happened in the world. And I feel like Gollum, it's hard to make a game about Gollum. Return to Moria, this is a canon thing that happened, and then you can kind of play around in this very very limited. You have very strong boundaries what you can do in this game, so it helps. But I feel like these larger games, I think it's just hard to understand Middle Earth. I'm not saying I would understand it myself if I was trying to make a video game out of it, but I think that's why these people paid so much money, and yet here we are. So I feel like that's maybe the biggest issue. It's how do you make it relatable to a wide audience, and also maybe let's spend some time working on a proper game, planning it out like the Witcher games, instead of just trying to rush out something. And like Tales of the Shire, how many delays. So I guess it's kind of like a mix of those, but maybe Shiv has a theory.
Yeah. One thing I'm thinking of is the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out this year, I believe, and it might be strategic for them to adapt it to the Switch, or the Switch 2 at least, because with a new console release, if they're able to have it be a release day launch for their game, that could be huge for them. So I'm wondering if that's a strategy they're going to play, because when you think of a game like Tales of the Shire, it's similar to Animal Crossing. It would probably make the most sense to be on that console. So that's kind of where I'm thinking Tales of the Shire is going. Maybe that's a little optimistic, but could be. And how it's really hard to, in my opinion, to top the Two Towers and Return of the King movie tie-in games. Like, I remember having those for the GameCube. So much fun. I'm trying to find a way to play them again because I don't have a GameCube anymore. Maybe I'll find it on Steam or something, but those games were amazing, and I would love to get a remaster of those. I don't know where the right stands for that, but I would love it personally.
Were you planning on picking up Tales of the Shire when it comes out on any platform?
Uh, I would probably do it on the Switch for sure. It's not necessarily my cup of tea. I did like Animal Crossing when it first came out. Um, so this game might be, like a casual game, pick up, play a little bit. But how about you? Are you picking up, thinking about picking it up?
Yeah, I'm a sucker for anything Lord of the Rings related. So, like, even Gollum game, I tried so hard to enjoy that. When it wasn't crashing, it was actually super fun. Like, I think I told 3 or 4 people behind the scenes, like, I have fun playing the game when it's working. The problem is it was often not working. I would just like interact with an object and the game would crash, or the actual
Oh,
world around me would disappear and it would just look like Gollum is walking through air. It had
oh
way too
no.
many of those issues. I don't know how it got to that state and stayed in it, and they were like, we have to release. But yeah, I'd probably pick it up on like the Switch or Switch 2, or I think like the one I use the most is the Xbox in the living room. V, were you planning on picking up Tales of the Shire, and do you think it's like the end of the world that the like director for the game left in December and they've delayed the game and had it dropped by Netflix since then?
Look, to be honest, depending on my schedule, I'm really happy with it releasing now in like July, I think you said,
Yep.
because I will have time at that point to pick it up. I don't know if I would have time if it came up earlier. So for me, it's perfect timing. But it's pretty disappointing to see behind the scenes this happening because it creates a bad aura around the game. And but I'm trying to keep an open mind. I think it's a pretty chill game. I'm not all that into Lord of the Rings games. Like I haven't. I saw the Mordor for like one day and that was it. It's a bit hard for me to get into it. The only thing I ever stayed with was Lego Lord of the Rings on Wii.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty nice, pretty chill. But I'm really curious about Tales of the Sire. To be honest, how are you gonna make hobbits bringing Teal'c work? So yeah, kind of interesting.
We also have a late joiner coming to the Fellowship of Fandoms podcast, Olmo, who
Hello,
edits
hello.
so many of our videos behind the scenes and does a lot of work that you guys probably don't think to give him the credit for, but he's a massive part of the team. Olmo, are you concerned for Tales of the Shire now that it has been delayed multiple times?
It could be a concern in some way because it's never a good thing, whether it's a game or movie or TV show, when a director leaves in the middle of it or at the end of it. It's even worse. But maybe it's because they want to expand it a bit more and they want to explore other things, or it could also be a clash of creative decisions, maybe as well. So I don't know whether it should be a concern, but I think that regardless, it should be a a good thing for the ones that want to play the game, because it means that the studio behind it wants to make the best game possible for us and for everyone else.
That is
I
my
think for
hope.
me, I just want to jump in there. I think for me, I was kind of interested in it. Um, like it feels like a nice game to like chill and relax with. Like you're going around Shire and solving crime or whatever. And I saw Nerd Rings do a playthrough, and like it has no audio for like the NPCs. They do not speak. You only have texts, and it's like it is 2024, 2025. How are we having a game that's such a massive IP? Like it's Shire. How hard is it like to get people to speak in a game? For me, that was everything else aside. I think for me that was like I don't think I would enjoy playing this nearly as much without having like some nice friendly hobbit voices running around the game. Like I don't know, did anybody else, did you know about this? Like what did you think of this?
Yeah, I actually I'm of two different sides of the coin on this. I think anytime a game is delayed, that means there's a good chance that the product we are going to get when it finally comes out is in a better state than if they would have released it on its original release date. That should be probably common thought amongst most people. The thing that gives me pause is when somebody so high up at the company leaves a game and says it's in release state now and we could release it, and that's why my position is no longer needed, and we are going to take the game from there and not put it out until July. It's that conversation around profit chasing, and it makes me think maybe, just maybe, the studio behind the game or the publishers behind the game want something more like microtransactions to become a prominent thing in the game, to sell you, oh, you're out of stamina to do this activity, but for 99 cents, we'll go ahead and give you a little bit more stamina so you can get this and maybe one other thing done, and then you need to pay again or wait until tomorrow to play. It gives me concern that at some point they need to make money back on their thing. And for this to take so long after she leaves, I do have a bit of a like sneaky suspicion that it's to try to figure out a way to monetize the game. Because also, to be fair, they've never told us a price for the game on any platform. There is nothing you can find online that will say the game is going to come out and it's $29.99 or $50 or if it's going to be free to play. I think that they're looking at trying to drop it at a low price and then add microtransactions into the game so you can send more gifts to friends or go see other people's versions of, Blithwater or whatever it's going to be. The game should be better, but I feel like there's more reasons for me to have concern about it right now than there was if it would have released, in March, like this month, I think when it was originally supposed to.
Can I bounce back on that about the
Yeah, you
game?
can always bounce back.
So, it's one of my concerns as well, because I don't know if you guys have played the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games.
Yep.
I think that the first one was amazing. Like lore-wise, it has nothing to do with it, and they had a lot of, they made a lot of decisions that were not related to the lore and stuff. But beside that, the games were really good. But the main difference between the first and the second one is that the second one has a lot of microtransactions, and it completely destroys the way that you can play the game, right? Because the core idea of those games was really cool, like the Nemesis and everything around it. I thought it was really really fun. But in the second one, when you have to like protect and defend your strongholds, then they're like, yeah, you have your orcs and you have your trolls and necromancers and whatever, but if you spend like €10 or $10 on a little chest, you can get an even better one or whatever. And that's something that is really like counterproductive for the player itself, because it's like you don't want to grind the game as much. That's the issue here. Because if you play a game that has microtransactions in it, it's less rewarding for the ones that want to actually like get better through skill and experience, right? And it just allows people that have like a bigger wallets or that have more money to spend on it it allows them to do whatever they want with it. So that's kind of like something that I don't really appreciate or agree on. And I know that it's like nowadays it's kind of like social. I mean, it's like a pretty standard thing in the gaming industry. You know, like a lot of games have that, whether it's like FIFA or GTA or whatever. But personally speaking, I'm also like a big gamer and stuff. I prefer the approach that Riot Games does. I don't know if any of you have played or not League of Legends and stuff, but a skin is fine. You know, like if you want to pay more money because you want a shiny little skin around your character, or you want your character to I don't know, have like a swimwear instead of having a coat or whatever, that's fine with me. But because it
Yeah,
doesn't
just
affect
like
your
the cosmetic changes. It just
exactly,
doesn't
yeah, that's
change
what
the gameplay.
yeah.
It's just like this little cosmetic thing.
Exactly. So it's like more appealing for you to the eye because you're like, oh, cool. Like I can change my character instead of having a gun. He has like a pistol, or he has like um a water gun or something like that. But if you have to pay in order to be better at a game, that just destroys the entire sense of, and also like the immersion that you want to have, right? Like that's kind of my points that I'm trying to prove here, and that's why I hope that they don't do it with the Tales of the Shire and stuff.
Well, speaking of things that get delayed but shouldn't have any microtransactions associated with it, still in the Lord of the Rings realm, recently, in late February, it was announced through Andy Serkis doing an interview that the Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum movie, which was originally set to release at the end of 2026, is now going to drop. Current projections is December of 2027. And again, just in the theme with delays, this isn't a video game where they're going to add microtransactions to, or people are already leaving the project. As far as I can tell, people have been excited to join this project. It sounds like people already have been, but can't officially say it. The hype is a little bit higher than I would think for for this movie than the Tales of the Shire. But ultimately, let's start with, does the delay of The Hunt for Gollum give you more hope that we're going to get a better, more fleshed out movie? Or are you excited for The Hunt for Gollum at all? Or is this something that it's kind of like, it's very like low on the totem pole for you? Do you want to see the old actors return?
Without question, I would love to see Ian McKellen back, 100%. And I know I got really sad when he had an interview where he was saying he was nervous if he'd be able to make it back if it gets delayed. So um, I hope to see it. Like, it looks like Christopher Lee was 92 when he filmed his final scene for The Hobbit. So it's definitely within realm of possibilities for him to return. Um, I guess a positive for delaying, I'm not sure where they're at in the production phase, but it gives them some time to kind of reshape the script if they need to. So punch it up if needed. And by the time they start filming, they have plenty of time to edit with it. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited. And it would be nice to see some familiar faces, and it would be nice to see some new faces. Get some more
In
people in the earth.
in theory, you would think with another year to work on it for them to have it come out in 2027 now, that should give them more time in post production to have newer, better de-aging technology come out. At least that's my thinking on it. Strider, what do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I am one of those people who 100% wants to see the old cast come back, even though obviously, as we said, like there's a very good point why this is a, in a way, tricky decision. But I just want them back. I don't care. I will suspend my disbelief super hard because these people are already for me. This is Gandalf. This is Aragorn. This is Legolas. This is Gollum, and I do not have to suspend my disbelief much further than that. But yeah, I think obviously everybody was excited. I was over the roof when they said it's going to come out 2 years from now, which was, I think they announced it in December. So it was like, I think it's coming out. It was supposed to come out in December 2026. Now it's moved 1 year down the line. It is what it is. if this gives them more time, and it does give them, I mean, we were all shocked. We discussed this on our channel. We discussed this, like, that was way too early. Like, how do you do write a script, cast people, do the pre-production, film the thing, do the post-production in 2 years? With, like, you're starting like from 0%. It's not like they already had the scripts ready or something like this. So it makes sense that it got delayed. I mean, nobody's shocked. I think everybody's sad, but also, like, if this means we get a properly well done Jackson-verse movie, Hunt for Gollum, where we see Strider, because he was mostly Strider at the time, running around Middle Earth, having like this hunt / detective story of sorts, following his Gollum's trail, and like there's so many good things that can be in this movie. So honestly, take your time. Please try to get the old cast back, because we all love them so much. And yeah, and that the aging technology, like Indiana Jones, for me in the last movie, I thought that was pretty good. Like, he had some like, how do you call it, throwback flashback scenes or whatever, and he looked pretty good to me. Like, Samuel L. Jackson in Captain Marvel was spot on. Like, he was absolutely perfect. He looked so good, and this movie came out in like 2019. Like, it was happening in the 90s, and he looked really, really, really good. So yeah, I think at this point, especially if they really throw proper resources on this, I think they can still make it work. But I obviously there are some reservations that people can have, and there's a good reason for them. So certainly it's a discussion to be had. But I don't know. It's good news that they delayed it to do it well. That's what didn't happen with The Hobbit, and we know how divisive those movies were. So overall, pretty good news.
I also think that it is a good thing that it has been delayed. I think that when they did the initial announcement, it almost felt like, with the date so soon, I had a little bit of fear that it was going to be treated in the same regards as the War of the Rohirrim, which the studio itself afterwards, as they're getting ready to promote their movie and try to get people to watch it, came out and admit in one of their articles that basically the War of the Rohirrim was greenlit just so that they could get something out quick and cheap, so that they could extend their ownership of the rights of the Lord of the Rings in movies. And it felt like, with such a quick turnaround time on the Hunt for Gollum, that it would possibly be treated the same way, that they just wanted it out quick, and they wanted it out for as cheap as they could possibly make it, even with like returning cast from the previous movies and all that, and it wouldn't get the proper, like, not to say that the people working on it don't care about it. They love Lord of the Rings, but it's also a job. And I would much prefer that they have a longer time to work on this, to make sure that the script isn't just rushed, that it's a good, solid script, and it's a great script for a movie. I also think if they wanted this to come out late 2026, and you have characters in here, like, again, if you're trying to bring back known actors in Hollywood, you have to work around their schedules. I don't know how available Vigo would be for something filming later this year, because he's an actor. He's up there in age. He's probably looking for work. He might have stuff already booked. That might throw off some of the scheduling. By pushing it a further year out, that gives everybody a longer period of time as a heads up to don't book yourself in this recurring TV show or this movie. We might get Thranduil in this. Lee Pace is very, very busy guy, and he does a Foundation on Apple TV Plus. It might be hard for him to get away from that in order to film something Lord of the Rings. But now that you push this back a year, there's a larger window to allow these older cast members to come back and film something. So I think that it does help in that regard. At least that's my hope, that they take this very serious and they want this to be like a big movie for them, and not just this small thing to put out to like test the waters on how big they should go with the second movie. At least that's my take on it. I don't know how much everybody else agrees or doesn't agree, but Olmo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, when they announced that it was gonna get delayed, I wasn't really surprised. I think, like Strider mentions, we were all kind of surprised that it was like only 2 years. Because you know, if you've seen Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, the pre-production alone was like a couple of years at the bare minimum. Even the Hobbit trilogy was like, I think, 3-4 years, in pre-production alone, which only like shows how complicated things like that can be. Granted, this is like a smaller project in comparison because it's not 3 movies; it's only one. Or maybe they're gonna make two. Who knows? You know, they can always change because they've done that with the Hobbit already. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be something that's kind of important to figure out because we all want the recurring cast to come back, the old ones that we know so well, and we want the Peter Jackson identity within the movies because we cannot compare really the show that we see on Amazon compared to this one. So you have to like see the bigger picture and try to figure out what is gonna happen, and also like appreciate every moment of it. Delaying is not really a big deal. Like honestly, I don't think that anyone should be starting to raise suspicions or questions like, oh my god, this movie is gonna be bad because they're delaying it. No, like true art takes time, and perfection takes time as well. So I mean, a good example of that is the Lord of the Rings movies that took about I think 10 years with amongst one thing and another. So whether it's pre-production, production, or post-production, that stuff really is very important. Um, and yeah, the like you mentioned, de-aging is gonna be also. Yeah, I'm kind of, I want it to work and I hope that it works, but we've seen also CGI that has been really, really bad. Like one that I want to mention is the mustache of Henry Cavill in the Justice League movies, because that one was absolutely atrocious. But I know that they can pull it off if they want to and if they put the resources into it. So we can all hope and pray and see. I do hope that McKellen is gonna be healthy enough to do those movies because he is Gandalf. There's no question about it. I don't think anyone on this planet is gonna be like, no, to me he's not Gandalf. He is. And I'm happy to see Viggo Mortensen come back if he does. I mean, one thing that I kind of want to happen is that Ulmo shows up, but that's not gonna happen sadly. But one can only hope.
Hey, keep your fingers crossed. Never rule it out. All right, so that is it for all of the Lord of the Rings stuff we have today. Again, going forward, there will be basically no Lord of the Rings stuff on this channel. It's going to be general fantasy, movies, entertainment, that kind of thing going forward. And we're going to kick it off with some pretty big news around the Odyssey movie that's coming out, which is that Christopher Nolan is obviously the brains behind the movie. And this dude is putting together just a massive list of amazing actors and actresses that are going to be working on this show. There's also been some leaked footage around how some of the cast looks in their costumes. We've seen uh Bernthal, we've seen Tom Holland, Matt Damon in his costuming as well. For me, the Odyssey was something that we read in grade school, like 7th or 8th grade. We read it as a class. And I haven't seen any media with it since then. Um, but again, just going over some of the cast, like Matt Damon is set to play Odysseus. We have Zendaya will be Athena. Charlize Theron will be Cersei. I mean, there's a long list of characters that we have already know. There's a lot that's not been confirmed, but obviously this book, this IP, is near and dear to somebody on the panel's heart. And I think they're filming near her. So, like, V, what are your general thoughts on the Odyssey, which is supposed to be releasing in July 2026? You've seen some of the footage, some of the pictures. What do you think of the costuming? What do you think of the cast? Are you excited about who's directing this?
So, yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, they listed even Homer as a co-writer, which is ridiculous. But at least that means that they're taking the text and using it a lot. I'm pretty excited for Nolan to taking it over because I saw Oppenheimer last year. I was pretty impressed and I loved it. So I'm pretty optimistic about it and the story that they will show. I can't say the same about the costumes though, uh, because like the Odyssey is in a era of the ancient Greek history where they didn't wear that stuff, let's say. So the costumes that they have are more of the classic Hellenistic look that that you are used to see, basically, and that is more on the mainstream media, and most of the stories um, that have been told are involved around those periods of time. But to set a time frame, like Odyssey is like at least 5 centuries before those clothes. So I mean, I expected it from one end because it's Hollywood. On the other hand, I had really hope for Nolan to like make it more realistic, depending on the time period. But also, it's pretty interesting because the helmet of Odysseus that is described in these books, in this poem, basically epic poem. It's made out of wild boar tusks, and that would be epic to see on screen. And I think it would be more epic than the classic helmet with the feathers, the Corinthian style that they have. So, as we understand, I'm pretty much a nerd about it. We learned it about Odyssey in school. We studied Iliad from the ancient Greek text, so it's pretty dear to my heart, and I really love history time and mythology as well because Odyssey, oh no, is a mythology. The Cyclops don't exist. Look at that. Um, and also, I'm pretty excited about the place that they are filming here in Greece. I've been there, like, it's 3.5 hours away from me driving. Um, I'm that close to driving down there. But it's a really beautiful castle that I've been there. And although it's not a Hellenistic castle, I think it's from the Ottoman era, it's pretty different. I believe that they will fix it in post though, and it's always a problem with the film locations, anyways. So it doesn't really bothers me that much. But the funny thing with the story is that they had started filming in Morocco, I think, earlier, and as soon as they came in Greece, the casting, like who plays who's and everything, was leaked, and a lot of photos. There are drone footage over the area that they are filming. There are people meeting the actors and uh, photos from that, and it's so funny to me because of course everything got leaked because bricks are such gossipers. So it's a funny thing. We haven't had a big film from Hollywood filmed in Greece in a long time, and it's pretty interesting to see that going on as well. I hope I didn't uh, spoke for too long, like the monologue tired you out, but pretty stoked for this project for one.
I'm pretty stoked too. I think everything Nolan's put out has been really, really solid. Like you were talking about Oppenheimer, that was a big, big movie. Like this is the follow up big thing to that. And then again, Oppenheimer had a crazy cast with a lot of famous actors and actresses in it. I feel like this is following in the same footsteps. Olmo, you had a funny comment in the chat. Obviously, you've seen some of the images that have been posted online from people probably, flying drones through. What did you think of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, like I said in the chats, in my opinion, Tom Holland looks a lot like Frodo Baggins, and apparently V already made a meme out of it on Twitter. Sorry, V, for being late. I'm like old, you know. I only dwell in the sea. But yeah, I like the casts. I'm really curious to know what is gonna be all about. I mean, we know the story and everything. It's not like news, but I'm talking about the way that they're gonna film it because um the dude has a very packed schedule. And I'm talking about Nolan. Like he literally just finished Oppenheimer, which was arguably the biggest movie of the year that year. And then he immediately got on to the Odyssey. And regarding schedules, we can say pretty much the same thing for the other actors that are in it.
Hmm.
Tom Holland's, I've seen like the schedules of stuff that are gonna get released in 2026 regarding those actors, and I think Zendaya has like 4 or 5 projects coming out that year, ranging from the Dune movie, to the Spider-Man movie, and then Odyssey, and then Shrek 5 because she's part of it too. Tom Holland has kind of like the same schedule, but I mean, then again, it's kind of helpful that you're making movies with the love of your life because props to them. Um, but yeah, I'm really stoked to see what's gonna happen. I'm kind of more into the movie business and stuff like that, so I'm guessing that he's gonna. I'm pretty sure that's the same DOP that worked on Oppenheimer is gonna be on Odyssey as well. So my question is whether they're gonna shoot it using the same technology that they did in Oppenheimer, or if they're gonna do something completely different and do a clean slate, so to speak. Because that's always something that's very important to discuss when we're talking big budget movies, because they don't just take random ass cameras. They don't just take, oh, let me take an R here, or let me take a Sony or an IMAX camera here. They're always gonna be editing those cameras to their full potential, and that means most of the time that the DOP spends years upon years studying the camera and like perfectioning it as much as possible. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the DOP of Christopher Nolan is someone called Christopher,
So
can I
like
say?
Van Hoyt or something like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Hoyte van Hoyt. That's the thing. That's
Yeah.
the one. So I think he also won an Oscar for that, or at least he's like a pretty big fish in the sea. No pun intended. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting because they're gonna do something different at Oppenheimer, 100%, because it's not the same kind of story, it's not the same kind of vibes, and Oppenheimer was kind of arguably acceptable when it's done with the technology that they used and using it in old technology, because Oppenheimer was older story and stuff like that. But regarding the entire premise of Odyssey, it's more of a fantasy or like a fantastic movie story tale. So they're gonna do something different, and I'm really curious whether they're gonna go all in regarding colors and stuff, or if they're gonna tone it down a bit and things like that.
I do know too, they are going to be using a new IMAX camera technology for the Odyssey, and it's supposed to be a quieter camera, which means they'll be able to shoot very intimate scenes using IMAX, which kind of was a problem with Christopher Nolan's other movies because the camera's so loud, it's hard to capture dialogue. So this is going to be a pretty good enhancement to the Odyssey. We might get some real close-up shots using IMAX, which would be awesome.
It'll be cool to
Yeah,
see
there you
their
go.
their film after that that says like shot on iPhone, and they just do it 100% through the iPhone after that.
Okay, but talking about that, I know you're joking and stuff, but I hate when movies nowadays they advertise themselves as that. I think 28 days. Which one was it? Like the last one that came
28
out?
years later is
Yeah,
going to be
that
coming out.
one.
Yep.
They said that, oh my god, it's shot solely on iPhone. But that's I'm just gonna say it outright. That's bullshit, because you can say that you use an iPhone, but if you use like $100,000 worth of lenses and all of that equipment,
Yeah,
then like you didn't shoot it on iPhone. You're just saying it to brag a bit, but this
yeah.
technology is still the same. So
Like, sure, technically it is shot on an iPhone, but you've attached so many high-powered things to it, it's not really the same. It's not like, don't advertise it because then people will think that they can just walk out tomorrow, open up the camera app on their iPhone, and take these same exact shots as what they're getting in these movies. It's not going to be the same.
yeah, exactly. Plus, they
There
also use
goes my
like
plan to film Lord of the Rings on an iPhone. Shit.
Exactly. Exactly.
the same can be said for the lighting as well, right? Like you cannot say, "Oh, I shot it with my iPhone," as if they just pulled their iPhone out and they just started filming randomly, and they have like microphones and stuff, but they have like just the same amount of equipment that they have for the camera itself. Um, they have that for the lighting stuff as well, so it's really not something that you should be like, oh my god, that's so amazing, I can do the same. No, those are like professionals that have been in the business for years upon years, and they just do it to like a brag a bit and make it sound like sexy for the random viewers, but it's not that. I saw the rig that they use for 28 days later, and that stuff is like heavy, just like any other camera. It's just like an iPhone at the end, so it doesn't matter.
Strider, what do you think? Are you super stoked for the Odyssey? Have you read the books?
I was gonna say, like, I think Greek mythology was my OG fandom, along with the Lord of the Rings. I have read that basically as much as I was reading the Lord of the Rings for like the first many years of my life. And I was thinking, like, for years, why does nobody just go on and make a universe, a cinematic universe of Greek mythology? You can have so many of it, and you can do so many phases of it. Like, you can have all these heroes who go on, do their stuff, and then they unite for the Iliad, which is like the book preceding the Odyssey, where it's like the Trojan War. Like, you have so many heroes. It's a war that lasts for 10 years. You can have so many people doing so many things. And then your phase two is like, it's like the one saga, and then you can have the next saga that you have like Jason and the Argonauts, and he has like the crew. It's like the Avengers assemble it. Every person that goes with this guy Jason to find this mythical golden fleece, every single person on that ship is like a demigod of some kind or a hero of some other kind. It's insane. There's so much potential in it. And when I saw, oh, Nolan is doing a movie, I was so happy. I was thrilled, excited, ecstatic. I love it. I can't wait for it. I think you all talked about the technical side of it, so I will not comment on that. It's Nolan. It's gonna look terrific. He's gonna create all the creatures. We're gonna see all those crazy things come to life because he's just gonna actually make them for the movie. Because this is how he rolls. But the story and like the actors and the scope of it, there is so much potential, and I am beyond thrilled to know that this is getting the AAA treatment when you have Nolan on it and all these insane actors. Like, the cast is stacked as it obviously should be, and I can't wait for it. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. The fact that Gollum got pushed 1 year, the fact that we have Odyssey coming up next year, I'm fine with that. This is completely a fair trade. We get Odyssey next year. We get Hunt for Gold the year after that. It could not bear. I cannot wait for it. And there's so much potential for it. I don't know. Nobody obviously talked about doing any cinematic universes, but maybe this gives someone an idea, because this is like some of the OG fantasy stories we have. Like, there's so many myths, there's so many epic things that were happening there. There's so much room for creativity there. um I just hope we get more of this, because honestly, why not? Like, this is the perfect time. These are the original comic book characters, like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, all of them. This is these were the comics, hundreds of years ago. I mean, obviously, of course, it was also religion. There was a whole much more personal level to it, but still, these were like these mythical tales that inspired people. And the fact that we have these cinematic universes today, that we had all these things, like, obviously MCU is the big one, where people were inspired by it in so many ways. Like, kids grow up with it. Kids get inspired by it to be good people because they see Captain America doing all these cool things on screen. Greek mythology, of course, is a bit more on the darker side. There's also like a lot of bad stuff
A
happening there.
bit.
But again, this is
A
the beauty
bit.
of those stories. Yeah, this is the beauty of those stories. They had that message to it. They like, gods would go on and do crap things, and what you were supposed to get out of it was, oh, I should not maybe be this kind of person. Like, they were there to teach you something, and this is what we get from comic books today. So it's like just a continuation of it. And the fact that we have successful comic book movies today, and this whole new genre of cinema, basically, this, for me, this is the perfect time to go back to this, because technology has reached such a point where you can do this really well, if you want to do it really well, which obviously Nolan is famous for. It can look really good. It can be epic. It can be fun. It can be for everybody. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a single thing about this that I'm not excited for, except the fact that it's not coming out tomorrow. And I love it.
I think I
The
am.
only
Actually
Hope so.
sold. I think that I feel like I need the OdyssCU, the Odyssey cinematic universe now. I wonder if
Yeah.
this does such good numbers because there is a lot of hype surrounding this, especially as a follow up to what, you know, they're not the same, but with how well Oppenheimer did, I could see this being something that the actors have fun doing. He has fun directing, and the studio has fun when all that green comes rolling in their way from the money that this is going to make. That maybe this will be treated like his, like James Cameron has Avatar, and there's a whole bunch of them
Hmm.
that he worked on. You have Game of Thrones with all these spin-off shows that are coming out on HBO.
Villeneuve
This,
has Dune.
yes, like this could be his IP that he can do multiple movies with that are high profile, could, scratch that itch for him as a director to give him that, cool thing that they could work on, advancing technology in movies, but also like from a fan standpoint, it's cool. The characters themselves are cool, but then when you also pair them up with just these amazing actors and actresses, it puts the hype on another level. And I don't know what's supposed to be coming out in 2026. I know like this 2025 July is packed with I think it's Jurassic World or Jurassic Park with Scarlett Johansson, Superman, and you have the Fantastic Four all coming out, I
Yeah,
think
that's
in like
stacked.
late June, early July. I could definitely see other movies knowing that this is going to come out in July of 2026, not wanting to release at that same time because I think people are going to flock to theaters to see this specifically. It's probably the most hyped I've been for a movie in a long time, and I'm
I can
not
tell you
some
right
big
away.
Odyssey fan.
I'm watching this at least 2 times in cinema. Like I've been waiting for this for years. There's an Odyssey movie. It's kind of like a miniseries. It's like a two-parter from 1997 with Armand Assante playing Odysseus, and actually on IMDb it has a rating of 7. And actually, my theory has been proven quite a bit. If we're talking about an older movie, like prior to internet and IMDb and all that, if it has a rating of like 6.5, that's a great movie already. And obviously, it's a movie of its time. The CGI and all that, it has aged obviously in a way that's not very that's far away from the Lord of the Rings and so on. But I think that was a really good movie, and I might just rewatch it one of these days. There's a couple of these movies that were already really good, and the fact that we're getting this now, and like the as you said, like the push in technology that might come from this in the movie making technology with Nolan doing an Odyssey, that's gonna be wild.
I got a quick link here too to going back to Tolkien and how it relates to the Odyssey. So um, Tolkien did an interview in 1968, and the interviewer was asking about adapting his books into film, and he felt strongly against the ability to be able to adapt Lord of the Rings to a film, and he said you can't cramp narrative into dramatic form. It would be easier to film the Odyssey. Much less happens in it. Only a few storms.
Oh
So
my god.
Tolkien was throwing shade
Yeah,
back then.
I think he had beef with that, but it's okay. I love his still.
I think he was just
But
trying to be funny.
yeah, I'm really curious though, how much stuff will Nolan get in the movie from the Odyssey? Because there is not enough time. Like, you can't make a 3 hour movie for the Odyssey. You have to make a lot of movies for the Odyssey. There are so many stops in his journey, and he meets so many people and the gods and everything. And also, there are some of the characters that don't really make sense. I mean, they only make sense if you have Telemachus also POV in the same time. Uh, anyway, we can analyze it another time, the story of the Odyssey and what we could potentially see uh, with the compared cast that we have. But yeah, it will be really, really interesting. I hope it has a lot of colors because Ancient Greece was very colorful and not dull at all. Um, so I hope they fix that in the days coming. So yeah.
I
Well,
think. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
One thing too is he has some experience with this style of storytelling. I feel like because Interstellar, which is by far my favorite movie he's made, I feel like it doesn't get as much love as it deserves. Um, that is kind of a similar story structure. Yeah, definitely not set in ancient Greece and all that. But it's a tale about a father trying to save his kids and going through an epic journey, I guess in this case through space, not on the water, but I think he'll be able to knock this one out of the park. He had all the practice in the world between Interstellar, so the travel story, and Oppenheimer with all the technicalities and interweaving drama with science. And I have a very good feeling that he'll be able to really strongly deliver. And if I had to guess, this movie's going to be bigger than the Dune franchise for sure.
Wow.
I'm
I
putting my
mean,
money there.
the Odyssey is bigger than the Dune franchise. Yeah. Oops.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can you
I
repeat
mean,
that?
that's your opinion, but no, we have run for over an hour and 10 minutes at this point, so we are going to wrap here. What you can expect from us going forward is there's a lot of news out there in other fandoms that we would like to cover that isn't the Lord of the Rings. Speaking of gods and demigods, Percy Jackson on Disney Plus. We've seen season 1. Season 2, I believe, just wrapped post-production. And before it even comes out, Disney has already agreed to greenlight it for season 3 officially. So we'll be going over that news. We also have news via George R.R. Martin. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. They are already working on season 2, with season 1 slated to come out later this year. There's also been one official casting for the Harry Potter show and 2 unconfirmed in talks with castings. We'll go over in a future episode. In terms of content that is already out, I know Strider and I at some point will probably sit down and give you guys an episode covering the whole season of Reacher, as well as
Yep.
we're getting all caught up on season 3 of The Wheel of Time, which I have to say, it has been a significant step up over season 1 and season 2 for me so far. And if you go to like Rotten Tomatoes and look up ratings, Wheel of Time season 3 with critics is at like a 94%, and with fans on over 1,000 ratings, it's up to an 89. Both would be their highest metrics so far out of seasons 1, 2, or 3. If there is anything you guys wish that we would cover that we haven't in those upcoming episodes, please reach out to us at FoFCast. That is FOFCAST at fellowshipoffans.com. And we will do our best to put together either a review episode of that or, a hype episode for something coming up like The Last of Us season 2, which is going to be dropping a month from now. That's our time. Again, thank you to all of my co-hosts so much for joining me. Thank you, Chiv.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, V, for schooling us on what is and is not an appropriate outfit for ancient Greek stuff.
Always a pleasure to be your favorite Greek nerd.
My guy, Strider, thank you for being on here with me.
Man, thank you for setting all of this up. Just quick praise for Varking. He has done so much to figure out the technicalities of this and to host this. So really, really, really very much appreciated. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we finally got it rolling. And yeah, just a huge thanks, man, for taking this over. And you did an absolutely great job today for keeping us on track and discussing all this cool stuff. So well done, and thank you very much.
Appreciate you. And lastly, one of my favorite people on the whole planet who I don't typically get to record things with, so I'm happy you were able to make the audio podcast, Olmo.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Same here, same here. Yeah, like Soda said, thank you for setting everything up and being incredible as you always are.
Yep. So again, folks, you'll probably hear from us on a bi-weekly basis as a group here, and then we will be cut into smaller chunks that take over specific things in the fandom, whether that's the Harry Potter, the Wheel of Time stuff, and those episodes will be titled a specific way. So if you're not interested in hearing our thoughts on the Wheel of Time, you don't click on that specific episode. But again, this group that we're doing here, this will probably be every other week basis, and it will be something along the lines of general fandom news and events that have gone on. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the first episode. Can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts on the next one.